All right, it's time to bring you the headlines across newspapers in Nigeria today. We have joining us from the University of Lagos, Dr. Dan Ekere. Dr. Ekere, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Nice
and
to
thanks
see
for
you.
having me.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, exactly. Nice to see you. All right, let's begin with the Daily Trust this morning. APC, Adamawa, Enugu, Kwara governorship primaries hold today. The election panel cancels exercise in Zamfara over violence. Ambode accepts defeat, pledges to work for Sanwo-Olu. It's getting really interesting. In some states, there are parallel primary election in some of the parties, and then confusion in others, and all of that.
Yeah, but it's expected at a time like this. You know, it's all about interest, and the challenge is that the interest might not be the interest of the public. So, so you will always find.
I wonder whose interest it should be then.
Is the contestants' interest, and perhaps those who are pushing them. But I think one interesting aspect of it is Ambode's, resolve to support Sanwo-Olu. As a matter of fact, he doesn't even have an option because should he choose to leave the party, I don't think that would be the best game for him. So he just have to.
Some say the same reason why he didn't get the return ticket is the same reason why he has stayed put with the party. The fact that he's not a politician. This is not how the average Nigerian politician behaves. The moment they lose the opportunity to return, they just jump ship to another party.
At best, he might not be a desperate politician, but he's a politician. There's no truth about that. Except that he has not mastered the skills. There's a superior. Yeah, there seems to be a superior, and that was how he was came out of it. Yeah.
Okay, dust as more candidates emerge for Senate. Yeah, and that is still talking about some of the issues following the fallout from primary elections. No cause for alarm over dwindling foreign reserves. The CBN is giving assurance to Nigerians because the point there is that the foreign reserve has been going down, but we keep making more. The international price of crude oil has been rising. So there's just this paradox or irony.
I don't know how you see this. You seem to be making more income. You are not investing.
And your savings going down.
You are not saving. And you say people should not worry. I think there's reason to worry. If we are making more money, every time they say that we should save more money or we should invest more in projects. I don't think we've invested more than usual in projects.
So where all the money is going to?
That is a question we should be asking. So
because
for the budget to tell us not to worry.
Yeah, the budget for this year was predicated at $54
and now you have more than
now
that.
we have more than $8. Now the
so
price of
I
crude
expect
oil,
that there should be excess crude account should be rising.
Exactly. That's what Nigerians expect.
And that will equally manifest in our foreign reserves. So if that is not happening, you're telling us not to worry. For me, I
maybe
think
it is and we don't know.
We don't know, yeah.
Or maybe they're using it to defend the naira as he has always been. But one way or the other, the naira has been stable though, but
relatively,
marginally has been falling a little. Okay, like today now, the price of the naira is about 359 naira to $1 on the parallel market.
Oh, well.
Okay. Let's move on now. Missing general, army cordons off community, arrest scores. This is in Jos South in Plateau State.
Plateau State, yeah.
Really sad situation.
I really don't understand what is going on there. Trying to bail a lake or something and
a pond.
They now found
cars.
Not even a car.
Yeah.
Cars.
So
what is happening? Is it that it's a normal road? I didn't see any bridge on top of that pond that maybe in the course of plying that road, the vehicle now. I really don't understand what is going on. I think they need to tell us more.
Well, the investigations are on from the reports we're getting from Plateau State, so we'll get to know what really is behind all of this. Buhari phones Leah Sharibu's mother, says, "I'll do my best." This is what Nigerians have been saying all the while.
I think that's quite
Let there be an engagement with the parents and all of that.
It's quite reassuring.
This is a good one.
The mere fact that the president actually reached out to the parents would give them some form of confidence, and it will he heightened that confidence that our daughter will be back. And I think that equally speaks well for the country. But we want to see beyond calls, and let's see how they speed up the process of bringing back this girl.
There are some who would say that Leah Sharibu is just a symbolic name. you know, for many nameless, you know, children who are out there
Certainly.
In captivity.
in captivity.
Certainly.
And
There's
something
nothing-
really
That's
has to be
true.
done. Let's turn our attention to the front page of The Nation very quickly. I won't take mandate for granted, says Sanwo-Olu. Ambode concedes defeat as panel announces result. A lot of talk is on about the implication of this dramatic change on the forthcoming election in a state where the opposition has a say.
My
long time.
only worry is that, you know, when PDP was on board, they never thought anything could happen to them. And eventually when APC came in, the expectation was so high. But unfortunately, I am not sure that that expectation has been met. The same thing could happen in this scenario. I pray it doesn't happen, that because the stakes are higher. You know, someone coming on board here is acceptable, but then will he live up to expectation is another thing. So that I want to see a situation where, you know, he exceeds, you know, whatever has been done, so that this particular cane that is flogging Ambode now does not flog him in due course.
It's arguable whether successive governors in Lagos have done better than their predecessors. Some would say that security in Lagos State arguably is one of the safest in the country.
Yeah, you
An
see,
improvement on what
no,
was
there is
before.
always you will always judge things in that manner where you have not been touched. If any of the insecurity challenges has happened to you, you will say that even Lagos is not safe.
not safe.
So-
I think I agree with you.
All right. On the front page of The Nation, I will run a people-friendly government. The focus of my administration will be the welfare of the state, and that's the Osun Governor-elect Isiaka Gboyega Oyetola displaying a certificate of return as governor-elect at the INEC state headquarters. It was a keenly contested election for both the APC and PDP. Do you think that this really would help the quality of governance in this new dispensation?
The Osun election is something I ordinarily would not have wanted to comment on, because my first worry was that I never got any information that there was any specific ward or unit where election did not take place in Osun State. All right? And I do know that each time WAEC cancels the result, they don't reorganize the election, the exam. So the case of Osun, I don't know where the rerun took place, whether the cancelled votes were revived, whether election was suspended in some wards. So I think the court should decide that. But with respect to the man in question, whether he's going to live up to expectation, it's only time that will tell us. You know, so let's.
I'm
let's
just
hope.
saying that the beauty of having keenly contested
No, it's
election
always
is
a
the
good
fact
idea.
that it dawns on the politician that the people are watching, and an election here they have a say. So every step they take, every policy they make now has to
People
count.
are watching. People are watching, and they take everything into account. And your performance, like I said, will determine. So if you take people for a ride that maybe in the past you can just impose anybody, I think the signals are getting clearer now that you need to do better than that for you to retain your office.
Your mandate.
Yes.
There are other stories on the front page of The Nation. The Nation TVC Summit. Experts set to discuss headers farmers clashes. Oil prices inches near $90. And there's been battle of words between Putin and Donald Trump. The Russian president is saying that Trump is responsible for the increase in oil price, his stance on Iran, Venezuela, and
Let it continue to be responsible. We want the increase.
hopefully we'll take advantage
Yeah,
of
we want the increase.
Fury tears Joshua apart, Buhari to name campaign team, and ex-president sons freed.
Yeah, okay. Let's move to the Punch newspaper now. Ambode accepted defeat to avert impeachment. Sources revealing that, well, you get all of these stories from all over the place.
Exactly.
Well, Governor congratulates Sanwo-Olu, pledges commitment to Lagos development. Okay, we've talked about that before. Primaries, President meets Rufai Akeredolu, that's the governor of Kaduna and Ondo State, respectively. The federal government denies tuition hike, says education bank underway. Now, you have to talk to us about this, because the point there is, there was, on the papers yesterday, we reviewed
350,000 naira.
350,000, where it was being alleged that there was going to be hike in school fees and all. In fact, after the review we did yesterday, there was some kind of buzz on social media yesterday, people misunderstanding the fact that, oh, there's going to be hike, but we're just reviewing the papers. So let us know what is really going on.
Well, for now, I'm not aware of any hike.
Okay.
I think the fees are still the same. All right. But
What are the fees currently?
No, there's nothing like a fixed, amount of.
price,
okay. There's
Well,
no,
they're up to 350,000 naira.
I wouldn't know, I only know of my own university, and I know that the University of Lagos is about the cheapest in the country. Okay. There's usually this fear about Unilag. When you hear the name, you think that you must be a multimillionaire to be there. It's not true, really. It's about the cheapest. Except you are doing programs that are, outside the normal, regular programs.
Like which one?
If you are thinking of MBA, for instance, and all those ones, obviously
they must be ready to pay through your nose. Is that what
you
you're
don't
saying?
need to. You only take it from your pocket and you pay. All right. So for now, it's only the Ministry of Education that can actually tell us what this hike is about, if there's going to be any. I do not think that there has been such a policy at the University of Lagos. I doubt if it's coming from any other university, apart from the private university that we know. Because sometimes people tend to look at it from the angle that what a student pays in any of these private universities is actually the right fee. So you can see that what it means is that government is actually taking care of, the remaining part of it. I know at the University of Lagos you don't pay more than 15,000 thereabouts. It's about 15,000, and that covers so many things, tuition or whatever name they call it, but I know it's spread on different issues.
Interestingly, they say that in every rumor there's an iota of truth.
Yeah.
We had an analyst yesterday who was of the opinion that to get the kind of quality education, globally recognized quality, we might have to pay more. But then the question still lies, how do people afford that kind of amount of money?
Well, you see, what it means, I've just made the point that it has been said that if truly we were to run our education system on the basis of, that kind of arrangement you are looking at, what students pay at this private university would ordinarily have been the right
standard.
Yes. But the government is coming in this instance, subsidizing education, But all we should be talking about is to, begin to demand more funding. And I want to believe that the federal government, the state governments can actually fund education if they are
even
committed
the private
to it.
sector.
Yes,
We've
if they are
seen
committed
private
to
sector.
it.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
A lot of times you discover that those who hold these offices, each time they get out of it, they will be rich enough to even fund the state. And it's not as if they did some businesses outside, which means that it is a kind of loopholes that have been created in government that makes funding difficult for all these facilities. You find an individual taking the entire resources of a state and all of that, and at the end of the day, you say you can't pay salaries, you can't fund education, and those are the challenges. So all we should demand is good governance. Once we get that, I'm telling you, funding will not be a major challenge.
Okay. Buhari calls Leah Sharibu's mother, promises daughter safe return. We've talked about that. World Bank cuts Nigeria others growth forecast to 2.7%. All right. And then Ajimobi wins on your South senatorial ticket. And Osun poll, party is alleged compromised by INEC. I'll resign if found culpable, as a resident electoral commissioner is saying that for Osun State. And father rapes impregnates 13-year-old daughter in Edo State. It's really a sad situation.
Really sad.
We often hear this kind of stories from different places and so on. And toddler, 4 others killed in Ondo crash. Really sad headline there. And man allegedly conspires with friends to rob wife. Okay. Stories out there.
Sometimes you wonder if the stories are true.
You get it? It's shocking.
Very unimaginable things happen sometimes.
Maybe the wife has been holding some
Are
money.
they really married? Do they have children?
Maybe until one gets the details of that story, and then, okay, that's the Punch newspaper.
On the front page of the New Telegraph this morning, Delta boys over primaries. Policeman kills 2 students. 4 party members hospitalized. Gun duel as police detain PDP lawmaker for ballot snatching. APC produces 2 governorship candidates in Ogun. Osinbajo, Shomole behind a crisis, says ex-minister. They say that the true test of democracy is what happens within the party. I mean, if people are going to be this brutal, for a primary, then what does that tell us about the democracy we run and the nature of our politicians.
That is the kind of politics we play, you know. You find a situation of do or die scenario in almost all the, you know, so that will give you an idea of what each politician is coming on board to do. Is it about service? Because if truly it's all about service, you get this desperate. If I want to serve you, you say, no, I don't want you to serve me. Why should I kill myself? You know, so you can see clearly. But I think we need to deepen democracy. And one sure way of doing it is to ensure that the parties actually embrace those tenets that would deepen democracy. But that's not what we are saying, and I think it's quite challenging. But I don't expect...
Right. It's a topic we're going to talk about later on, so maybe let's just move on and reserve everything for that time, maybe.
Drama as Ambode concedes defeat, bows to Tinubu, congratulates Sanwo-Olu. APC makes U-turn, the Godfather had his way. Plateau, again, headers kill 14 in fresh attack. Chief of Army Staff, elders, elite behind violence. And then we have the STF arrests 72, parades 27. Okay, World Bank cuts Nigeria's 2018 growth forecast to 1.9%. The cries headers farmers' crisis frets over regions' rising debt. It's a looming... how exactly did we get ourselves here as a nation?
Well, it's all about governance. Governance is the whole thing, because the fish begins to rot from the head. Once the head is right, the chances that the body will be right are very high. You see, so once we get it right from the point of view of governance, a lot of these issues will naturally be sorted out. You know, but when you find a situation whereby even those who are, you know, at the point of position of leadership are behind some of these things, then you begin to find these things, you know, they find the embers of violence. You know, so I think that's what's really happening.
Okay, let's move to the Vanguard newspaper now. Lagos APC primaries, intrigues that made Ambode concede. Okay. Ebri National Working Committee panel boss under pressure from Ambode, Lagos APC ESCO. Ebri first cancels primaries, recants 12 hours after, and Oshomole wades in, redefines Ebri's duties in Lagos. Tension drops as Ambode concedes to Sanwo-Olu. Life returns to Alausa after governor's concession, and Tinubu holding court to navigate fallout of spat with Ambode. That's multiple riders there. Ebri is was a former governor of Cross River State, and he was the chairman of the committee that conducted the primary election in Lagos State. No plan to hike tuition fees in universities. The federal government is saying that. I guess this gives some level of relief. Relief, exactly, to everyone.
People can take that to the bank.
Well, yeah, of course. If the federal government says it, you can take it to the bank. 13 killed in fresh Plateau attack. It's really sad how things are turning in Plateau in the last couple of weeks.
Honestly, I find it difficult to understand what the challenges really are. You know, I think this is going beyond the herdsmen and farmers' clashes, because you find a scenario where a general is missing, only to find a car in a pond, and all manner of things. So,
investigation will reveal a lot.
Investigation actually reveal what is going on.
Exactly. And Buhari Obaseki clerics mourn as Alile Pioneer, DG of NSE, as the Nigeria Stock Exchange, dies at 80. He's going to be missed. CBN explains reduction in foreign reserves, says it has nothing to do with politics. Okay. And APC primaries, Buhari moves to douse tension in Ondo, Ogun, others. All right. Well, those are some of the headlines on the Vanguard.
And finally here I have this day. Ambode surrenders, concedes defeat, congratulates Sanwo-Olu. Candidate thanks governor. Tinubu says integrity would be his watchword. Buhari calls Leah Sharibu's mother, pledges to rescue her daughter. 13 killed in fresh gunman attack on Plateau village. World Bank cuts Nigeria's growth projection to 1.9% as CBN allays concerns over declining reserves. But there's
I guess the figures from the projection cuts there is the same thing with the other paper, but I think Another paper here said 2.7%.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But there's an interesting story on page 10 of this day. Federal government revives $2.5 billion solar power projects. Extends deadline for agreement. Some would have said that solar energy would have been, a viable alternative for power supply in this part of the world, given the way the sun shines on us.
And even if you go to Adamawa State, for instance, Adamawa, Yobe, Borno State, Taraba State, Bauchi, the sun it's like the sun is brought down a little more than any other place in the world.
But it's like we haven't taken advantage of it.
We have that kind of, weather conditions many parts of the country. When it is sunny, it's over sunny. When it is
when it is raining,
you get it.
The rain
So all we need is to take advantage of every circumstance, because we can actually harness a lot of these natural, resources and make life better. Both hydro, gas, and we have practically all of them. Whether it's the technology that is missing, whether it's the political will, I really don't get it.
One would say it's more of the political will. When it comes to technique, we have
countries
the
are
skills.
doing these things.
Especially when you consider the multi-billion-dollar industry we have selling generators, repairs and maintains. And then you will know that it would take a big blow to bring it down and make power work in this part of the world.
No, but I think that can be dealt with if the will is there. I don't see anything so serious about generator dealers and the rest of it. It's something that can be taken care of. I think the government should summon greater courage to deal with these issues.
Is that all? Oh, okay. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Danekere, for joining us on the paper review board. We're keeping you for the next discussion.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Let's take a breather and we come back. Now, okay, coming up, primaries are happening across the country to select party candidates for different positions.
These seemingly simple process has proven to be a battle in some states, especially in the camps of the APC and the PDP. This is the thrust of our next discussion. Stay with us.
All right, let's begin with our first discussion now. It's 135 days to the 2019 general election, and as part of preparations towards the conduct of the poll, political parties have begun the conduct of their primary elections to choose candidates who will fly their flags and contest various positions on their platforms.
The governorship, national and state houses of assembly primaries so far conducted by Nigeria's two biggest political parties, the All Progressives Congress and the People's Democratic Party, is now attracting widespread criticisms from stakeholders as well as political watchers over conflicts arising from the exercise. In some southern and eastern states, two governorship candidates emerged on the platform of the same party to contest one governorship seat. In the north, protest and jubilation greeted the emergence of some aspirants as the candidates of their party, while in some southwestern states it was a fight to finish as aspirants resorted to mudslinging and the use of unprintable invectives just to discredit the rivals. Well, Dr. Danekere is still here with us. It's an interesting development in the past few weeks. It's like governors are shut down across board and focus is on who becomes candidate of respective party. When we put all of this together, what people are saying is we seem to have an internal political system that doesn't even field the most competent candidate to run in elections. How can this be dealt with?
Well, it is difficult to deal with it because it's part of the nature of political parties. You know, political parties don't necessarily feel the best. They feel they feel they are comfortable with. You know, it's all over the world. Now, if you leave the system to sort itself out without these political parties, what you will find will be totally different from what you get. You know, but we've discovered that over time, the 4-year term that we have for each, you know, both the governors and the president, out of this 4 years, 3 years are devoted to governance, then 1 year to politics. Because from this moment, in fact, a few months ago, the system actually started. You know, it's just that we are not talking about the heat of the period, the primaries, but this process actually started some months ago, and since then, proper governance has ceased in so many places. The focus has been on how to either retain positions, regain positions, and perhaps bring in their own foes. That has been the scenario. And that may likely continue until the elections are over. So you find out that you have, in actual fact, 3 years devoted to governance. That's for those who even commit anything to governance at all. Talking about the intrigues that are playing out. You see, by its very nature, and it's part of the challenges that, you know, some people have raised concerning party politics. Unfortunately, too, it is difficult for you to run a political process in our own kind of environment, in modern, you know, states, without political parties. Because how do you, you know, harmonize the issue of candidature? All right? So it becomes difficult. Now, for a political party to produce a candidate, they may not likely go outside the party to look for. Even within the party, perhaps the man or the woman who is best qualified might not be the one who will dance to the tune of the party leaders. Don't forget that parties are funded. And those who bring this money are not just philanthropists. Even for those you call philanthropists, their philanthropy is for a reason. There's usually something tied to philanthropy, let alone political parties. So those who invest this money, in fact, those who fund political parties see themselves as investors. And they want to reap benefits, either by way of producing, you know, those who will be appointed into various positions, or getting contracts, or whichever. So it must be in line with the kind of person that you can make demands on, and they will respond. How will you bring in somebody, put your resources behind such a person, where you know that you cannot even ask for anything from the person and they will listen? So political parties have this structure, and that is why you now find these intrigues. And it has got to a point that you now have divisions even within the party as a result of these, you know, tenacious interests that have been exercised. And for as long as you have that, you will find this scenario. But one funny thing about politics is that there is always a way to sort out these things at the end of it all. You know, either by way of reconciliation or people align their interests. So if at the end of the day you feel you are not comfortable with this particular party as a result of one thing or the other that has happened. And that is why today you find, you know, a lot of the members of APC are actually originally PDP members. So you will always find that. And some of them will equally move from APC to other parties as a result of disaffection. Once your interest
as
is
well
not
as
covered,
they move from other parties to APC.
it's like that,
depending on how you see it.
Yeah.
In fact, in the 3 years you were analyzing earlier on as to 3 years for governance, 1 year for politics. Sometimes the first year going for a fresh candidate who just won the election, sometimes the first year is used for consultation.
For studying the terrain.
Exactly, studying the terrain. So
and settling the board.
So it's more or less
it's more than 2 years for main governance. But the point there is, if you look at the governing or the ruling party right now, one would say that they should have learned from the mistakes of not necessarily even the 60 years of PDP per se, but from even the days, the Second Republic, the days of MPN and UPN, because it said that they are the offshoot of the action group at that time, and then to UPN, and then to SDP, and then here we are right now, SDP in the Third Republic. But we still have crisis in this political party. Are political parties really learning lessons from the past?
You see, it will be easier to learn if you've had those parties sustained from that period to now. You see, we have always been having new processes, new entrants, new bodies. If we had the AC, the action group of those days, if it had continued till now, definitely there would have been some level of stabilization.
Okay.
By now, you would have been able to identify the interest, the ideology, and where you align your interests will be in line with the ideology you believe in.
It would have been likened to the ANC in South Africa.
Are you getting
in
it?
South Africa.
Because those parties have been able to stamp their feet. They've been able to project themselves such that you know where they belong. It's on the basis of that you can call a party a Democratic Party in the US and the other one Republican and all of that. Because their interest, the ideology is so clear. You can identify that. Now, we've never had that. Each time we have these dispensations, they are usually truncated, you know, by a kind of system that will not even give us room to remember what happened before. Are you getting it? Yeah, the military incursion has been a major challenge. As a matter of fact, 90% of the political woes of Nigeria are attributable to the military incursion. They disorganize the entire system. Yeah. Even the structure, the state itself, it is the military that has created this unitary system that
we had our regions functional before the first military coup, and then brought a unitary system, which we are still running.
And that is the only
somehow.
way the military can survive. They will never operate a federal system. It will always be, because it's all about command and control. So once you operate a system like that, you want to take instructions from the center. And for as long as instructions are taken from the center, then this challenge will continue. And what we are suffering today is part of that, because we've not even changed it. We call ourselves as a Federal Republic of Nigeria. There's truly nothing federated by Nigeria. We just have states created by the Constitution. Now, when you look at the various federal structures in other places, look at the US, for instance. It's not the Constitution that created the states. These were autonomous states that decided to align, decided to come together. But in the case of Nigeria, it is the Constitution that is creating. But you had regions that are just natural, that ordinarily would have been. So we have ethnic groups that are not a creation of any, constitution. So if the federative units were in that manner, those natural entities, it would have been easier, because those ones will be able to determine what and what to do, how to come in. Today you have about 50 or more states in the US. The United States of America was not actually from the beginning a gathering of up to 50 states. But along the line, as others see what is happening, they decided to align. Well, it's like we'll get some protection. It's like we'll get better with this arrangement. So that is how they came in. But that's not what you find there. So apart from the military structure disorganizing it, you now have the kind of greed that is growing among and mutual suspicion. Today you have a governmental system of turn by turn. What you even call democracy is now is just a laughing stock. Because as we speak today, a lot of the contestants for the office of the president are from the north. PDP decided to zone theirs to the north because the APC's candidate is coming from the north. And I'm very convinced that there are many other parties that want to do that because they now feel there is a turn of the north. What is democratic about that? That it's a turn-by-turn arrangement. You are not looking for competence, even from that structure.
Yeah, but isn't that a good arrangement to give some sense of belonging to every side of the country?
So
because the point there is, if you're talking about competence,
yes,
every region and every state in the federation
should
has
be
the
able
ability
to
produce anybody who is competent.
Beautiful.
Yes, but because if we have to leave it open in that regard,
yes,
because of the peculiarity you were talking about earlier,
yes,
as the issue of numbers, the issue of ethnic and all of that makeup, there are some parts of this country that may never present a presidential candidate.
You don't really need to present a presidential candidate or a president. You don't need to.
Yes.
You see, what will you be doing? A lot of us are not going to be president. But are we not Nigerians? Don't we have a stake? You see, what matters is for the president to do what is demanded of him, of that office.
But
the moment you are able to do that, who cares about who becomes the president?
Dr. Kerry, but isn't that what the issue is, where they say, okay, you rotate the president or rotate the governorship to either the west or the south or the north or the central, as the case may be?
Yes.
Because the point there is that whether you produce the president, sometimes it doesn't even make you better off. If you look at the states in Nigeria that have produced presidents, how well off are they different from other states?
But
the belonging.
But let's look at it this way.
Okay.
All right. As we speak,
yes,
there have been a lot of clamor for inclusion because we believe that the appointments have been lopsided. These are part of the drive for all this zoning. All right. If we have a president who sees the entire country as his space,
as his constituency.
Yes, and he's able to meet up the demands. And as a matter of fact, if we truly operate a federal system, emphasis should not be on the president.
Yeah.
emphasis should be on the governors, because those are the places where governance will be properly determined.
Let me bring you.
The president's duty will just be to harness
Yeah.
and deal with those issues that have to do with, that office with respect to international and the rest of it.
National security
beautiful.
and things
But
like
that's not what is happening. Now, everything is at the center. And because everything is at the center, and the one who gets there brings in his people, his own area, without any regard to the fact that this is a country as a whole that makes obvious, and that even the resources you are squandering are from the various states.
Dr. Kerry, let me bring you back to the issue of primaries for a bit, because this is what determines who we vote for and who eventually leads us. There are some who would say that to get democracy right, we have to improve the quality of our electoral process. In that case, we're one step forward, 10 steps back. Look at the improvement. Look at the laudable achievements of INEC over the years. But then there are some who are saying that we need to pay more attention to internal democracy. The kind of atrocities that have been recorded in the past couple of weeks in form of violence, there were places where parallel, there are even places where the national party, the national headquarters of some party had to dissolve the state committee. Saying that the winner they provided was false. What kind of integrity do these parties have? And how do we ensure that internal democracy begins to, reflect, take root,
Yes, it will
aligning with what's happening
It will
generally?
take quite some time. Now, to start with, let's begin from the point of view of the umpire. All right? At least we've been able to make some good steps. All right? Essentially with the era of Jega.
That's right.
Interestingly, the man who is, saddled with the responsibility today worked with Jega. The expectation is that being part of the process and having seen all that Jega had done, he would have been able to take the thing beyond that level. But you discover that the first set of elections that were organized by this INEC, led by Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, there were a lot of incomplete, elections. So many of them. In fact, I don't think we witnessed this level of, inconclusive elections.
If you ask INEC, they believe that it's part of deepening democracy,
That's not deepening.
ensuring fairness,
But
as the case may be.
Now wait. You see, I said this man was part of Jega's, whatever, and he ought to have learned from that process to even supersede Jega's performance. But he's still doing his own. I'm not saying he's not.
Yeah, but Dr. Kere, the fact that an election is declared inconclusive, does it amount to irregularity?
So why the inconclusiveness of the election? Is it
when
that the people are not willing to vote?
But because if you look at the electoral guidelines,
yes.
it specifies factors that can lead to an inconclusive election.
Some of these factors are
everything.
And those factors were never there when Jega was there.
These factors are even way
So
beyond.
how did Jega manage
They are way beyond the capacity of INEC. For instance, violence erupts in the polling units where elections. And look, INEC doesn't have the responsibility
That is
to
the way
chase
you-
thugs
the
away.
issue of overvoting.
Overvoting, ballot
Yes,
snatching,
exactly.
that's beyond INEC.
No, not totally beyond INEC. You see, INEC is the one who conducts elections. The people don't conduct election. All right? It's INEC that does it. It is the way INEC conducts election that will determine to a large extent how the people will react. And a number of times, people have suspicion over INEC. And that's why they act the way they do. And even the few who have misbehaved over time, INEC has told us over time that we've found so number of irregularities. What have they done over it? You see, so if you've been given responsibility, we see referees on the field of play. When a player is, when a player fails to conduct himself the way he should, they know how to deal with such a player.
Do you think that the umpire
and the player does not stop the game?
Do you think the umpire should play more prominent role in primary elections? Of course, they observe as the case may be.
And a lot of these,
but given the level of irregularities, it appears they should even conduct the election.
In number of in a number of occasions,
that will be taking the responsibility out of the political party.
INEC is even part of that problem, because they will monitor the primaries. You'll find, two parallel bodies organizing primaries, that they will still have issues with declaring who is the authentic, winner. In some cases, they even monitor both, if I'm not mistaken. Because if we know clearly that if INEC does not monitor your primaries, whoever emerges is in futility.
Yeah,
then
but at that level, INEC the laws only gives INEC the observatory role. it is primary election is totally the responsibility of the political party. So it is the party that should harness and arrange and
Mike,
harmonize.
No, that would be wrong, because
Okay.
if it's all about, you see, if I go to a meeting to observe, all right, I don't have any say over the decision of that meeting. Okay? And you will say because I observed or I refuse to observe that the thing is not authentic. But do you know that if INEC fail to observe your primaries, it will not be recognized?
Yeah, of course.
So it goes beyond mere observing. It means that there is something higher than observing. Because if your observing would determine what is authentic about my activities, then there's a role you are playing. And that is what INEC has not done well.
Yeah, but it
may
not be, Dr. Kere, it may not be in the place of INEC to decide whether this is not the authentic candidate or not. Theirs is to check the process.
Beautiful.
The process of conducting that primary.
And is the process that brings the parties into
if there are 2 or 3 parallel primary elections, for instance,
yes,
and INEC is in all of them, it is not INEC that will determine which
Who
of the parallel is authentic. It is the party who decides that. But the point there is that if that process of the primaries went through the right channels and produces a candidate from there, then INEC decides
and I'm saying that even INEC is part of that process. But let's leave INEC out of it. Okay. You see, even the parties themselves. Now, you find over, how many parties do we have now? We have quite a number of
91 political parties.
Beautiful. A number of times, even these parties, as we speak, I doubt even you as a pressman, whether you know them.
They just registered them a few months ago.
Are you getting it? So we don't even know the names of these parties. Only INEC does.
We don't know them yet.
Now, that is what
we'll get to know them with
we
time.
equally don't know what these parties stand for. Even the 2 leading political parties, we don't even know what they stand for. You find, you see, among
good
them,
governance.
You see, these parties are not truly founded on a well-articulated ideology that you can spell out and say, well, this is what this party represents. Because if there is such clear ideology, you will find this, kind of scenario we find ourselves where PDP can easily defect and move to APC and feel comfortable until they now find a point where they couldn't get
Dr. Kerry, because of time, let us quickly talk about the emergence of direct primary.
Good.
APC, for instance, had this, in about 18 states of the Federation.
Yes, out of 36.
The opposition came up with this, I don't know whether I should call it conspiracy theory. Okay. They are of the opinion that the reason why the APC is going the direct primary way is to shoot up the numbers. And they also allege that these numbers are on path to rigging the forthcoming general election. How can this, because earlier we talked about the role of INEC in all of this, to ensure that the elections, the primaries are conducted, and they can affirm that these numbers are not rigged.
Well, I don't think we're going to conduct the 2019 election on this option A4 so-called, all right? So, because the sanctity and secrecy of vote is part of, the requirements given even in the Electoral Act. That is the reason why they say you shouldn't go into the ballot the voting spot with your phone. You should snap, all right? Because it will be as good as you are revealing whatever.
Exactly.
Okay? If that is the case, then that should not be a problem for the 2019 election. But again, it's worrisome. However, what should have been the best process? I think direct primaries would have actually been the best, because that is the only way the people truly decide. When it comes to indirect, it's the governors who decide who becomes a delegate. And that system, apart from disenfranchising the people, apart from distancing the people from the choice of who governs them, it equally creates a scenario of manipulation. It makes manipulation higher. However, we equally still have a challenge, even with the so-called direct primaries. Do the people actually make decisions themselves? Are they the ones who actually decide? We still have this bandwagon effect. And that is part of the problem with democracy. And no wonder the likes of Plato saw it like a mob. The system is like a mob action.
It's a mob
you
action.
just find one leader who says that, oh, we go this way, everybody goes without question. They don't even know where they are going. All right? That is a challenge we find with democracy, because we have not gotten to that point of full enlightenment to understand what your own responsibilities are. As we speak today, a lot of Nigerians who don't even know their rights. And there are so many, including people who have even gone to school. So when you have a scenario like this where people are still far away from knowing what the process entails and everything, what you find is what you are getting.
So we have direct, we have indirect, we have consensus.
Yes.
You think direct is best as
That
a speaker?
ordinarily, that would have been the best, because it means that the people are truly speaking. But it's a scenario of the more you look, the less you see.
Yeah, but in fact, the concept of direct election, the direct primary election, where a candidate's picture or he stands, or he or she stands, and then everybody comes to queue behind him. Is that a modern? Some people have argued that it's not a modern way of conducting elections anymore.
That's the option A
modern
for.
about it.
It doesn't mean that a direct primary can't also take the form of a
secret open ballot system.
Secret ballot system.
So what is direct about that?
The fact that not just delegates are involved now.
All
party
all
members
party
get
members
to
come
choose.
to vote.
It is the format with which they vote that differs.
Yes, the question of, maybe you casting your vote
Exactly.
by paper and
By-
the rest
exactly.
of it. That is another way. But at the same time, too, why do we even hide when we want to support somebody or not? Why they hide? Why hide your face? If truly this is the man you stand behind, why hide your face? I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't. But I think that there are a lot of people who are always afraid of becoming the enemy. That, I saw you queue behind Mr. A.
That's the
those
challenge.
fears could
Dr.
equally make people not to express themselves the way they
Dr.
should.
Kerry,
That is true.
so an analyst was saying some time ago that voting is a product of an emotional feeling, just like demand is in economics. You just have a feeling you just like something and you want to. So the point there is that people who come to queue behind someone can do it out of the sentiment of the fact that, okay, the whole family is here, so let me join them. Not because you're so convinced, especially when you don't have candidates that you necessarily believe in. So but it should be your prerogative. It should be your own decision. Nobody knows that you should vote for whom you want to vote for.
Good.
That is why it is seen that way as a crude way of conducting elections.
You see, emotions are usually expressed. Emotions could be inner, but the expressions will show.
Exactly. And
what,
that is why
what are the emotions stand for.
Put it in the paper and let it express itself in the numbers.
You would have expressed the emotion openly. You could stand behind the person, the emotion is already, acted upon. So it doesn't really change any issue. But I equally buy into the idea that it could have been the secret type.
The open secret ballot.
If the electoral system has actually provided for secret balloting, all right, I expect that the same thing should have trickled down to the political parties, such that the parties will equally operate in that manner. Even if you are going to do it an open system, let the vote be secret. That would have been better. Not necessarily a case of delegates, but I think that Nigerians really need to learn more to deepen the democratic process if we must move from where we are today.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Danny Kerry of the University of Lagos, for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you.